So, Nam aloha, everyone. Good. We got some comments up already. So, if you could put your name and where you're coming from. Great. Okay. So, today I want to talk about narcissism, the shadow of narcissism. And it's really in our the collective consciousness right now. Like we're seeing that women are narcissists too, just through the media. And let me just share the chart and then I'll get into it here. Okay. I'm going to play this game again, are we? Okay. Let me do it the easy way. Okay, that's better. Okay. Oh my God. It's like every single time I do this. But I'm not going to let it stop me. Okay. There we go. Okay, so let me just get this just straightened out so everybody can see it. Okay. Okay, just a second here. Why is it doing that? There. Okay. I don't think I wrote anything else down under there. Okay. So this is the human design chart here. And we're not, at this present moment, we're not going through a transit with the 10 in it. That would be 10 is Capricorn. So the Capricorn season or Cancer, we would see this 10. So it's called the shadow of self-obsession. And it's the gift of naturalness. And this is the city, the divine gift of being. So remember that each shadow pattern has two flavors. So one flavor is more externalized and then the other is more internalized. So the externalized one is narcissism and then the more internal one is called self-denying. So we'll look into that here. And let me see. Okay. So we know narcissism. Just let me straighten this out. This is so annoying. Right here. Okay. Let me see. I feel like this is, whenever I'm on something big, technology is my blessing, but it's also my curse. So it's where the resistance comes through. Is okay. Okay. Let's just do this. That's not working. Okay. You may notice that yourself when you're on something big, you're going through a challenge, that all of a sudden things just start going wrong. Okay. that's not working. This isn't working. And what about just sharing? Maybe do a new scene. Okay. It's just me. Okay. And then right here. And let's try this. Share screen. Ah, that's better. Okay. Okay. I really apologize for this. Me and the images. Okay. That's better. Okay, there's me. You can see me. Okay. Where do we want to start with this? With this narcissism. So basically, like I said, we're seeing it out in the world right now. And this is the fall. I feel like it's a symptom of humanity going through this great change. That because we're moving so far, we've moved so far actually from spirit, from soul, in our own naturalness, because that's the gift. And this means separation, right? So that soul. Remember, the soul has a desire nature, and one desire nature of the soul is to separate from its source, and the other desire is to come back home in unity with the oneness. And so we're seeing this, and this is called our human experiences. This is why we've come to the planet. We've come to have human experiences, which means separation. So we've gone far, 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 far. It's like a child, right? That goes out and plays and is gone all day. And when I was a kid, it was when the street lights came on. That was the sign, the signal to come back home, and for dinner time. So it's kind of like that. We've gone, as a humanity, we've gone so far, 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 and now it's time to come back home, right? So now we're coming more into unity consciousness. So narcissism is really a symptom of this. We've gone as far as we can go, and we're seeing it. It's like it's destructive, right? This whole, it's a disease of the ego, right? So it's very, very destructive to humanity. It's like a cancer cell. Right? A cancer cell is independent. It's an independent. It feels like it's independent from the rest of the body and does its own thing. And it's out of harmony with the body, and it actually becomes very destructive, right, to the body. So this is what narcissism is. But we don't talk about, on YouTube there's the empath and the narcissist, right? That relationship is talked about a lot, and it's the narcissist is the bad guy. They're all the bad guy, and the empath is, they're the victims, right? And I'm not about victim consciousness, and this is what needs to leave the planet now. And if we go to the chart here, you can see down here in the 55, right there, off the solar plexus. That is, I just want to put this a little bit larger. So the 55, that's the shadow of victim. That's the shadow of victim. It's the gift in the city of freedom. This is going through a huge mutation for the Aquarian age. This is the solar plexus mutation. And this means victim consciousness has to leave, right? So this empath narcissistic relationship, it's one coin and two sides of the coin, and the victim doesn't want to hear that. What are you talking about? It's the narcissists that are the bad guys, We're the good guys. We have not, this is happening to us. We're the victims. No, no, it's not about that at all. This is about transcending victim consciousness at this time. So chances are you've had a run-in with a narcissist, right? If you're on the spiritual journey, it's just part of our developmental stage as a soul. So we want to look at, because you can be an empath and also be a narcissist. It works both ways, right? So we want to look at the two sides of the coin here. So let's go into, okay, I think I got the hang of this now. Okay, so this is narcissism. This is one of my cards that I'm doing for my oracle deck, right, around the ego. So there's Wormtongue, right, from the Lord of the Rings that I talk about in my other videos. And he's the one that's whispering, right, to the king of Rohan that's under a spell, right? So he represents the ego here, right? And this is the disease of the ego, is narcissism. So what is a narcissistic person really running from is, the other thing I want to say too before I get into this is, if you have a relationship with a narcissist or have had a relationship with a narcissist, chances are one of your parents was a narcissist. And that's why we attract our relationships, especially karmic relationships. Why we attract them is because they're an echo of our childhood. So something has to come up. So let's just do the inner child quickly. Okay, my mother was a narcissist, and it doesn't, and you can be a woman, like heterosexual woman attracted to men. You'll attract a male narcissist to you. And why is that? Because that's what you know. That's your relationship blueprint. So the trauma gets imprinted there from 0 to 7 years old. That's the emotional trauma. And then what happens is you have this frequency that's not you, right? The wounding, that's not you. And then you attract it in through your frequency. So you'll attract in a narcissistic partner, and it's usually someone that you're intimate with, right? Someone that you fall in love with or whatever, right? And then it gets recreated. This trauma gets recreated in you. And if you don't deal with it, you'll just keep on attracting narcissistic partners, right? So what's the point of it? For the healing of it is that you have to feel what you felt like when you were a child with your narcissistic mother, who narcissists are incapable of loving other people, like truly loving in an unconditional way. So that would be very traumatic for the child, because the child's currency is love, unconditional love, right? That's what it feeds on. That's what it needs to nurture its soul. So you wouldn't get that nurturing of your soul, the nurturing of your identity, because the mother gives you your identity. So there would be a lot of confusion, right? So you would be attracting, right? So you're attracting this person in so that you can feel. That's how you get out of it. Out of this pattern is you recognize it, you become aware of it, and then you feel it, because it's going to bring up all the same feelings you had when you were a child. Feeling isolated, feeling alone, right? And you feel it until the end, right? So you got to have the big cry, the big boo-hoo, and then we're evolving through the emotional body. So that's the inner child work that you have to do to heal this. But let's go in deeper into this. Is if you've been brought up with a narcissistic parent, then the chances of you becoming a narcissist go way up, way up. So you may be in denial about this, that you too have narcissistic qualities. It's like, well, no, it's my partner that it's a mirror. So we talked about the inner child stuff, but it's also a mirror of dynamics within you, that you have narcissistic qualities within yourself. And those can't really be healed. Psychologists talk about this. You can't really heal a narcissist because they won't admit that they're wrong or there's anything wrong with them, right? They're perfect. So, but you know what heals them? Is life. Life is what heals a narcissist, right? And that means the ego getting pummeled by life, right? That's the fall from grace. That's the death of the ego. That's the dark night of the soul, where that ego has to finally let go, right? That you finally have to you as a soul have to finally let go of this ego, right? And then it starts to dissolve. And then it's karma. Karma is sweet. It's so sweet, karma, but it's very, very bitter to the ego. It's sweet to the soul, because then, life is pummeling you, and it's like all your karma comes back. Oh, I'm starting to get treated like I treat other people. If you have narcissistic qualities yourself, right? You get to feel, because a narcissist, if we go down here, they've got no empathy, right? That's one of the number one traits of a narcissist, is they have no empathy. So another person is not a person to them. It's just like an actor on a stage to them. It's like a cardboard cutout. That's all a narcissist sees. They don't see people. So they have no empathy. So how are they going to get empathy? By life coming in with a 2x4, like batting that ego down, 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 until it feels, oh, this is what it feels like, right? What I've been doing to other people, it's like payback time. They get to feel it. So that's what I say to people, like that. Don't go into like a narcissist can never heal. They're not going to heal on their own. They're not going to go to a psychologist or a therapist or go on the spiritual journey unless they're gaining more power, right? Because the spiritual journey, there's two kinds of people that I've learned, like from teaching for so many years, is one person is like seeking love, right? They just want to be themselves. They just want to open their hearts, and they're very sincere about that. They want to serve, right? They want to help others. And then the second type is like, I want power, right? I want power. And there's a lot of people on the spiritual journey actually that are after that path. I want power. I want special powers. I want to be able to control, right? I want the cities. I want all of this without opening my heart, right? So I have control, and that's the ego, that's spiritual ego. So we really have to watch that as spiritual people, like to dig these out. And it's not fun doing shadow work, right? We've got to look at these dark areas in our psyche, and we have this because we've been brought up in a narcissistic culture. Like, look at social media. Thank God social media wasn't around when I was a teenager or a kid, right? With the number of likes and how many followers do I have, and this, right? With the selfies, right? It's self-obsession. It's like bred in our culture. It's coming to a pinnacle, and how destructive it is to children and teenagers. Can you imagine? Like, can't imagine being a teenager in this day and age. Like, every single move documented, everything documented. Your digital footprint everywhere. So this is what's encouraged, and it's empty, right? It's so empty. There's so much, it's lack of meaning and lack of purpose, and it's like this obsession, right? The obsession, this is the shadow, with the self, with the body mind, right? That's our first identification, as we identify with the body and then the mind. So we want to look at this really clearly. And of course, I could do a whole webinar series on this, but I just wanted to touch on it for this hour, just to stir the pot up for people. And where was I going with that? With the narcissism? So chances are that you have narcissistic qualities if you were brought up by a narcissist, and that it's okay to let it in, right? Because a narcissist won't admit any mistakes, right? So let's just go through these quickly, right? So the narcissist is definitely listening to worm tongue, right? Worm tongue's its God, basically, right? Everything is coming. So there's the inflated ego, okay? The inflated ego. And then with the tofu person, this is like the empath or whatever. I'm calling them the tofu person because they just take on the flavor of everybody around them. They have no real sense of self. They've got the deflated ego, right? But they're also listening to worm tongue, right? They're listening to the ego too, as well as the narcissist is listening to the ego. So they've got the inflated ego, right? I'm the grandiosity. I'm superior to everyone. I know more than everybody. I'm the best. I'm the best of the best. And the deflated ego is I'm the worst, right? I'm the worst. I'm like at the bottom of the rung, right? I'm the martyr. The narcissist is so much greater than me, right? That relationship. So, but it's the ego. So whenever you're dependent on, like this guy, the inflation of the ego, it's like you're getting pumped up. You're a balloon and getting pumped up by the praise and the credit and all that, right? That's the food of the ego. Well, what happens, right? Whatever gets pumped up by the external will collapse. It's duality, right? We live in a plane of duality. So you're going to experience both. I'm the winner, but I'm the loser. It's the duality game, right? So the inflated ego, we know that, right? With the narcissist, I don't think I need to go too deeply into this. We know this archetype. So no empathy, right? Not being able to relate to other people, not considering their feelings, right? It's all about them. It's all about me, and what that person can do for me, right? And how the ego sees people. Are they going to help me, right? Are they going to help me get to wherever I want to go, whatever the ego's desire is in that moment? And remember, it's insatiable. The ego is insatiable. As soon as it reaches a goal, it's like, next. What's the next one? It's never satisfied if you chase the ego. So was that person a help or a hindrance? Is that person a block to me, a threat? That's how the ego sees people. It doesn't see people as like, three-dimensional even. It's two-dimensional. Is that person a threat? Or is that person a help to me? Can I use them? Or are they a threat? That's how it sees people. Won't admit any mistakes, right? A narcissist will never admit mistakes. And that's how you can tell if someone's a narcissist, if they can't apologize. They just cannot apologize. Even their apology can be, not really an apology. I'm really sorry that you feel that way. Did you hear that? I'm really sorry that you felt that way. You feel that way when I insult you, right? It puts it back on the other person. So will not admit a mistake, because the ego, that's like a huge, huge threat, because it's superior. It's got to hold that superior position on the pedestal, on the top of the ladder. So to admit to a mistake to the ego, right? It's like I'm going into the bottom. I'm going beneath you, right? That's like a huge threat to the ego. It's the kryptonite to the ego to admit or apologize. And the thing with narcissists, because they have this false sense of confidence, right? They're getting their confidence from the ego. They're not getting true confidence, which is from the divine. And the ego is fickle, and it's identified with the external. So it's like you're a yo-yo. You can be up and down, and it's never enough. It's a black hole. So narcissist needs that constant validation, right? And credit. And, but underneath it all, they're deeply, deeply insecure, because there's no security. When you're gaining your security from the ego and the external world, you've got no true security, right? True security is when you're gain your security through the divine and through your own higher self. And then it doesn't matter what's happening around you, right? It doesn't matter if somebody one day is giving you credit for something and then the next day like criticizing you. You're not up and down, right? You're in your center because it's not you. Your identity isn't based on if somebody's opinion, right? Their good opinion of you or their bad opinion of you. Your security doesn't come from that, right? So that therefore narcissists are deeply, deeply insecure, but they compensate by this false confidence, right? So when you become, really committed on your spiritual journey, intuition is part of the gifts that come and just a knowingness. You can see through these people, right? I see through these people, it just takes, it doesn't take much to scratch the little surface to see what's really underneath there because it's so inauthentic, right? The ego is so inauthentic. And then we'll show no vulnerability whatsoever, right? But it's listening to this. It's listening to worm tongue about what not to say. Don't say that, right? Don't give that person a compliment, right? Their head will get too big and then they'll think they're better than you and then they'll have something over you, right? That's the thing, right? Don't show any vulnerability because that person will have something over you and will threaten you with it down the road. So it can make you very, very suspicious because the ego is very suspicious, right? So no vulnerability, not being open about what's really going on in your life. Okay, I'm fine. Everything's great. Just the lies. And then can be dishonest and manipulative because it's about holding that position, right? That I'm superior. I'm in charge. I've got everything under control, right? The narcissists like to control everything. This is the other thing. I was just watching this on Netflix last night. The Polygamists. I forget what it's called, the series. It's a 4-part series. There's like a playbook on these people that are narcissists. They do the same things, right? And one of them is control. This person, the head of this religion, the prophet, he called himself, had complete control. He needed to control everything, like even the way women had their hair had to be just perfect and the way they dressed and they couldn't wear this color and that color, right? It's just this, it's a study in this narcissist and tofu person relationship, right? This about control. So narcissists need control because you're just the two-dimensional cardboard cutout to them, So they can be very dishonest, right? Not being honest about what's really going on for them, and manipulative, right? Because the manipulation's about mentally manipulating someone's mind to get that energy, right? Get that credit. Because the ego needs that food, right? It needs credit, it needs validation. It even needs conflict. If it can't get that, it will get conflict, right? That will be food for it, is conflict and fighting. And to stir the pot. You must know some of the people like that, right? You're in a group of people and you're talking and everybody's getting along, and then comes in a narcissist who needs attention. They need constant attention. Will say something shocking. That they know that will stir the pot and then get people fighting with them and arguing, and right? And that's all about the food for worm tongue, the food for the ego. So let's go to the tofu person. That the narcissist needs the tofu person, and the tofu person needs the narcissist. That's how it works. So they've got the deflated ego, right? Narcissist is I'm the best, and the tofu person is I'm the worst. They're both ego-based. Both these people are ego-based. So they give away their power, right, to the narcissist. And they take blame, right? The narcissist won't take any blame at all. Won't take any accountability. Won't take any responsibility. Will never apologize. But the tofu person will blame themselves. That's the ego, right? The ego is telling the tofu person, you take blame, right? It was your fault. You did something wrong. You've got to do better. That's what it's listening to. So, so takes blame, and then deeply insecure, just like the narcissist, deeply insecure. And why? Because they're not getting their security from the divine, from their soul. They're getting it from the ego. So, of course, tofu person's going to be insecure too, but they'll show it more, right, than the narcissist. So they gain their confidence from the narcissist, right? The narcissist is gaining their confidence from the ego, but the tofu person has the ego saying, you're worse than dirt, right? You're horrible, and you enlisting all the mistakes you made and all that stuff, right? So they're going to be looking outside of themselves if they're not connected to their soul, which tofu people are not connected to their soul. So they're gaining their confidence from the narcissist, right? The good opinion of the narcissist, which is like, it's never enough. It's never enough with the narcissist, right? So they're constantly trying to get that approval and validation from the narcissist. And you know this, right? If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, it's that there's no pleasing them. It's like never ending, never ending. Do you see how this game gets played? These two play this game. So they're gaining their confidence from the narcissist and their identity from the narcissist too. And they're attracted to the narcissist because they're lacking confidence, right? They're not connected to their soul, so they're connected to worm tongue telling them how horrible they are. That they are attracted to, you know, the narcissist because they've got this false sense of confidence. What they're really seeking is confidence, right? But again, it's looking outside, where the ego and the mind always have us looking outside. So they're looking for that confidence outside of themselves. And there's the narcissist. Wow, look at him, right? He's really confident. I'm going to latch on to him or her, right? But it's not true. It's not true confidence. Your true confidence has to come from inside you, right? In your connection to your own soul. So disconnected from soul, right? That's where the insecurity comes from. And denies the self, okay? So the narcissist is denying everybody else. Nobody exists. I'm the center of the universe. Like nobody exists except me. Well, the tofu person denies the self, her own self or his own self, right? And then it's completely focused on other people, on the external, right? And receives their identity from other people, what they can do for other people, right? And also they're not connected to their hearts either. I talked about this before, about being emotional. This is not the heart, right? The emotions are the up and down, the up and down. And emotional means you're not doing your emotional work. And your emotional work is to feel it till the end. Not to get into, because victim consciousness does not want you to go to the end, to the full healing, to feel whatever it is, the sadness, the grief, the anger, the fear, until the end. And the end is when you get to frequency, right? And that's when your awareness expands. Emotionality is when you stay on the surface of things. Why is this happening to me? And he's so mean to me, or she's so mean to me, and she's so cruel, and I'm, I don't deserve this. That's the emotionality, right? And it's not the heart. The heart is like fearless. It's courage. It's the warrior. That's the heart frequency. It's that feeling tone, right? It's not emotionality. So the two of them are disconnected from their hearts, both the narcissist and the tofu person, you know? So, what else did I want to say about these two? And so you can see this being played out in our world, right? We can see the rulers and little g are kind of playing the role of the narcissist, and the collective is playing the role of the tofu people, right? I just have to be obedient. I have to do better. I have to be perfect, right? So the narcissist will give me what I need, you know? So the two of them, They both need each other, and they both need attention, right? He needs attention. The narcissist needs attention to feed the ego. She needs attention too from the narcissist. Because when there's no attention, then there's no identity. That's the ego. What's the thing you can do like that drives the narcissist crazy? It's a silent treatment. You just ignore them. It drives them crazy because there's a fear there, right? This is loneliness. The narcissist is so fearful of this loneliness. That's the emptiness, right? And they do everything to fight this loneliness. And what it really is their fear, that the ego's fear is that it doesn't exist. That it doesn't exist. That's the big fear of the narcissistic ego. I don't exist. If there's not somebody in front of me, you see this with actors, right? Actors are perfect examples of narcissists, right? Why they choose that profession, right? Actors is because of the attention, right? And you see actors, like it's funny to watch them, right? If there's nobody giving them attention, they kind of turn into a tofu person. As soon as they have an audience, it's showtime, right? They just light up because they're getting attention, right? They're getting attention. So the narcissist is like that. It's this fear of like, who am I? They don't know, the two of them don't know who they are, who they really are without that attention, right? This is what the ego needs. So this is how we deal with the ego. Is we don't feed the ego. It's like the narcissist that can't heal itself through the ego. It's just ego. How it's healed is you yourself, how you can work with these energies, because we have both of these energies inside of us, is not to feed it, not to feed the ego. Don't pay attention to it when it's having a tantrum, right? Where it wants attention. It's like a little child, a little 3-year-old inside you, right? Worm tongue, wanting attention from other people and getting sad and upset that it's not getting attention. And this is what the tofu person does, right? Plays this game of people pleaser, especially when they come across a narcissist, because they want attention from the narcissist. I'm going to worm tongue's in there, right? Telling her what to say to the narcissist. Tell him how great he is. Tell him how good he is, even though you don't believe it. Because tofu person wants attention from the narcissist, right? And then the narcissist needs attention from the tofu person. This is why they're so attracted to one another. So both of them are deeply insecure because they're not connected to their soul. Ego is their God. And that means that's their authority. That's who they're listening to, who they're guided to. And both of them have no heart, right? Both of them. She's emotional as a tofu person, not connected to the heart. And then he's, right? The solar plexus is down here. It's in the navel region. That's the emotional carburetor in there, right? This is all the work that we have to do. When you have a big cry, it's coming from here. Do you ever feel that? Like it's coming right from here. And when this starts to move, that is what opens up the heart. That's what opens up the heart, right? Is when you do that emotional work. But until then, no, both of these two are not connected to their heart. And then that's the big thing. They don't know who they are. This is all about identity, right? It's fear of identity. The narcissist fears that somebody's going to take away their identity, take away their freedom, right? So this is what Worm Tongue is saying to the narcissist. Don't be open. Don't be vulnerable, because that person will have some kind of power over you and they'll take away your freedom. They'll take away your freedom. They'll take away your identity, right? I'm going to keep it all inside and look like I have it all together. And what's that doing? That's keeping you away from your true power. There's no power here in the ego. It's all false. The ego is like playing you like a violin, the ego, because it can make you do whatever it wants you to do, because you're not centered, you're not solid, right, in yourself, in your true identity. So, and what was I going to go with that? So let's go to the gift here, because the gift is so do you see how both of them are like one? The narcissist is completely nobody else exists except me, this self, and then the tofu person is everyone else exists but not me. It's just the opposite. It's like inverted, but they're the same frequency. So just out in the world, I mean, this is what we're working through as a humanity. This is what I see. So we can move out of this ego, right? The ego is really, if we were to work on anything on the spiritual journey, it's the ego. So dilute the ego. And if you want to do more ego work, Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles is a great program. I did that in 2000 and just on my own. You can do it on your own. 2015, 2016. Yeah, I think that's when I did it. I was in Sedona then. You can get a book, and then you could just go through these exercises every day for a year. And I learned a lot about the ego, my own ego and other people's egos, by doing the Course in Miracles. I would really suggest that. And if not, stick with me, right? I'm going to be talking a lot about the ego. It's a pet peeve of mine. Okay. And it's challenging, you know, when you live in a narcissistic world, because all you see is ego, right? Just ego is everywhere. So what you have to do is not give it attention, right? This is what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is overlooking. So if somebody's coming at you with ego, right? With their ego, don't focus on the ego, because that feeds it. Even your judgments and your thoughts and your beliefs about that person, that feeds the ego. It's like, just overlook it. I don't pay attention to it. If somebody's showing me their ego, I don't pay attention to it. I try to look beyond into this. This is the being. This is the city, right, of this shadow is right here. And this is if you see this figure, this dark, shadowy figure, that would be like the ego, in who you think you are. That the ego is telling you who you are, right? With all your identifications. This is who you truly are. And remember too, with identification, whatever you identify with, because the ego is all about, it's like Velcro, right? It sticks to everything. These are our attachments. So wherever you're attached, and the ego will want to attach to something, this is where it gets you, right? With the narcissist and the tofu person, is your attachments. Because as soon as you have an attachment, then you feel like you've got to defend it, right? As soon as you are attached to something, some kind of identity, I'm a good mother, I'm a good teacher, I'm a good wife, I'm a good husband, a good partner, whatever it is that you're invested in, your ego is invested in, you're going to have to defend it. And as soon as you have an attachment, then life is going to bring you like situations and experiences and people that are going to challenge that. And then you waste a bunch of energy, right? And this is how the ego can get us, right? Can get us is through our attachments. But if you're not attached to anything, this is what the nodal axis is teaching us, right? It's about being our authentic self. And our authentic self is not about, it's not about being attached, right? Look at that awareness that's coming through, that's burning through all of this. This is what's true. This is naturalness, your natural self, which is not identified with anything, because it's infinite. You can't put yourself, like your higher self, in a box. You can't label it. It's too big. It's too vast. It's infinite, right? So do you see how the ego limits us? It puts us in these little tiny boxes, and it's not us. This is what wants to break through now for the Aquarian age, is our awareness and burning through. And it starts with not listening to your ego. I can't stress that enough. And meditating and getting to know your mind. You really need to know your mind now, of like what's really coming from my soul and what's coming from my ego, right? Your ego is not your friend. Let me look at some comments and then we'll do some cards while we're here. Where are we? There we go. Okay. So MCE finally making it live. Nevertheless, she persisted. I love that. Paige Hodgins. Kevin Martin. Oh, Kevin and Nan from Vietnam. Awesome. Necessary topic. Yeah. And I just scratched on this. I mean, there's so much to talk about. Susan from Missouri. Karen from New York. And Paige from Georgia. And then Mexico, Karen. Another Karen. Oh, from the UK. But tuning in from Mexico. Oh, good for you to get to Mexico from the UK. Rotterdam. NL. M. Baines again. Jen Goodwin from Vancouver Island. Yeah. I'm really liking the worm tongue because to put it into a form, because the mind needs that. It's like to put even our how we work with God, just the concept of God, that we have to make it into this old white guy with a beard. It's like we have to. It's just how our mind works. It's just easier if we put a form to it, right? And this is, I mean, I told you I love Lord of the Rings. But it just helps put it in perspective. Because it's like somebody whispering in your ear. I was just thinking today about the ego when I started. Actually, I did the Course in Miracles even earlier than that. I committed to doing the whole thing in 2016, 2017. But 2010, I was actually dabbling in it, like the Course in Miracles, but hadn't committed to the whole program. And I remember going to teach, right? And so it was a 45-minute drive when I lived in interior BC. So I'm driving, and this is how crazy the ego is. And I felt like I was in a battle with my ego whenever I went to teach, right? The 1.5 hours of Kundalini Yoga meditation. And I would hear my ego like, why don't you just drive over the cliff? So my ego's telling me, like, why don't you drive over the cliff? And I would start laughing at it. It's like, yeah, I'm going to drive over the cliff. I've got 50 people waiting for me, right? For meditation and yoga. No, I'm not. So it gets louder and louder and vicious and more vicious when you come closer and closer to your soul purpose. That's when it becomes more and more vicious because it's losing its power. So a lot of people give in then or give up, right? And this is the suicide path that I talked about that people will do because they think it's them. So we really need to get clear that nasty, vicious, judgmental voice is not us. If it's not coming from love, like true love, unconditional love, and soft, it's like that's not it. That's not it. That's the ego. Yeah, and Paige. And watch Lord of the Rings too if you haven't already. I may watch it again soon. Katie from Corey. Katie from Texas, Satnam. C.A. Patterson, yay, from Connecticut. And then Brandy. Oh my God, Brandy. I was born to literally two 15-year-olds. They were in the throes of their teenage narcissism. Yeah. Yeah. So we have to undo. That's the thing. We have to undo the wounding because, hurt people hurt. You hear that term, the blind leading the blind, that we have to undo. This is what happened in ancient India. Where, in India, once a child reached about 9 years old, they would be sent off to a teacher, off to a spiritual teacher. And the purpose of that was to undo any damage that the parents did in their wounding, right, in their conditioning. I like that idea. With a real teacher, though, right? A teacher who's in integrity. Yeah, social media is a great disservice. Talk about the ego getting teenagers. That's such a trap, too, for the ego to grab onto teenagers. Because really, as a teenager, you just want to fit in. Everything's about your friends and your peers then at that age. And it's just on social media, all you're seeing is the highlight reel. You're not seeing what's really going on with people. You're just seeing the highlight reel, Yeah, and Baines. Yeah, talking about narcissism. Yeah. Yeah, I know, it's so simple, and Baines is saying that it's so simple. Spiritual teaching is so simple. The golden rule: do unto others as you want them to do unto you. Yeah. These are the things that we're forgetting, right? We're not taught to be a human, a good human. We're taught to be how to be a good slave. Here's how you're a good slave, according to the ego. And then chase this dream that the ego created for you, this sick system that we live in. We're not taught what's true value. That's a good one, Paige. Paige says, I think this is referring to the lame-ass apologies that a narcissist gives you. I'm sorry that you misunderstood me. Yeah, I'm sorry you're such a loser, right? And you're not as great as I am. Yeah. Deeply wounded, yeah. My mother is also narcissistic. Yeah. I know. This is the thing, right? In terms of our wounding. Because it was really the discovery of Chiron in the 70s, 1977, I think. They discovered Chiron. And remember, these planets, planets are really a reflection of our consciousness. So when we discover them, it's showing us that something's changing in the consciousness of humanity. And that was about our wounding, human wounding. That's when psychology came through and New Age teachings, all that stuff. It is a blessing that our ancestors didn't have this luxury, to look at it like that. They didn't have this luxury to self-reflect, right? And go into their deepest woundings. So we have to, there were more survival. It was all about survival. Okay, keeps insane. Oh, yeah. Keep sweet. That's right. I'm on number 4 now. And this is the thing with the tofu people, because the tofu people are really can be manipulated by these religions, these cults, because they're not connected and narcissists, because they're not connected to their soul, their inner wisdom, right? So they can be really, really manipulated and sucked and seduced into those. Because you look at it like, who would get married at 13 and 14 to these old men and believe polygamy and believe all this nonsense? But they were brought up in this, brought up in that culture. Yeah. And so this is deeply rooted to religion too. Yeah. The tofu person is the child of the narcissistic parent. Yeah. But the tofu person has to look at their own narcissistic traits, which I just went through, right? Because that's just the other flavor of the narcissism. And it's not about self-blame. It's just about taking self-responsibility. Like I talked in the last video, we're responsible now for our own state of consciousness. And so it would behoove us to look at these darker areas, especially because this will show us, our external world is going to show us our fruits, right? By their fruits you'll know them. The fruits are going to show you what you're growing, what seed is inside you, right? Are you growing rotten fruits or no fruits at all? Then it's like, okay, I got to go inside. I got to look inside and go to the roots, right? Go to my roots. Tula bean is here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good too, Corey, Katie. That this is what the tofu person does too. She's bringing this to not set off the narcissist. And that's the other thing that worm tongue will say to the narcissist or the tofu person. Is don't say that. This is the people pleasing, right? Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't criticize them, right? They'll react to you. They'll withdraw their attention from you. They'll get angry. They'll lash out at you. And like even to the full spectrum is like physically abuse you, right? Or you'll get it. You'll get it from them when you get home, Yeah. So you end up not being in truth. Right? You're afraid to be in truth. That's true too. That's good. To not make them angry. Yeah. And certainly not to show your light, Like keep yourself small. Keep yourself small because the narcissist wants to feel like I'm superior to you, tofu person. So don't you dare show your power and threaten me. This is the competition in relationships. These are the dysfunctional relationships. These are the karmic relationships that we're talking about right here, these dynamics. And they need to be talked about. They need to be brought out in the light. Yeah, Tanya, the live stay up after I'm finished. Yeah, Tyler, Toby, you're either living for God or from the ego. That's true. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the Michaels, eh? She's saying Michael Murdad and Michael Brown. Yeah. Okay, the Michaels. Great topic, Myra. Okay. No contact. Yeah, and sometimes you have to do that with the narcissist, but you got to go inside too. Just avoiding and getting rid of them. If you haven't done the inner work, you'll keep attracting a narcissist in your life to finally say enough, right? This may be an ancestral pattern that's been passed down from your family lineage, right? Maybe from your past lives too. Yeah. Well, after my divorce in 2012, I had a long time to reflect on my relationship. It was a very intense relationship, but I actually had to dig out some little narcissistic qualities within myself. That was very humbling for me to look at, like personally. But it makes you more a compassionate person, right? When you look at that, it makes you more real and authentic, to look at that. It's like, oh, I've got to look at these negative traits that I didn't want to see in myself before, Yeah. I was raised by a narcissistic, mother and father. But that's what I'm saying is you don't have to feel victimized by this. That you can heal this with awareness, with this, right? This is what does the healing, is your beingness, right? That natural self, that authentic self that wants to burn through. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just to put the spotlight on it. So a narcissist doesn't want to admit they're wrong. So you need to look at, like, where I don't want to go there. Like, I'm so reactionary. No, I don't want to go. Well, go there. That's the ego trying to protect itself. It's like, okay, I want to look at it. Maybe I have some narcissistic qualities that I have to look at, in myself. And then you just start reflecting, right, in your life, some of the things that happened. Okay, it's not all them and all, because the tofu person wants to blame everybody else, and the narcissist wants to blame everybody else. Or no, the tofu person wants to blame themselves, right? Blame, 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 blame. Narcissist wants to blame everybody else. It's just to bring those two energies in, and then it's like, no, I'm going to go inside and look. And the tofu person has to look at like, oh, I took too much blame there. You got to know what's yours. It's like you got to disentangle from like what's mine, my true responsibility, and then what's this other person's is. That's what the tofu person has to work with, because that's their knee jerk. It's like to just completely blame themselves, right? And the narcissist doesn't want to look at themselves at all. And then this is all it takes, is this awareness, this spotlight, this light comes on it in that dark area in your psyche. Especially if your parents were narcissists, I'm telling you, you got to look at yourself, because you were swimming in that frequency when you were a child. Okay. Let's do some cards here. Do some cards here for the people that are listening. This one's related to the chart, so we'll just do another clarification. I'm going to do a clarification one. Okay. What goes with the deafness? What goes with the deafness? Okay. So it's deafness. I'm just working with my cards, so they haven't been printed yet with the image. But this goes with our the nodal axis that we're in. So we're 4323 that I talked about in one of my videos. This is the north node and the south node of the moon. So the south node of the moon is in the 43. And the north node is in the 23. So the south node is what we're letting go of, and then the north node is what we're embracing. So this is the shadow of the 43, what we're letting go of, and this is deafness, right? So deafness is not listening to this, right? Not listening to worm tongue in your ear. That's what deafness is. Now the shadow is you're deaf to your own soul and your intuition. Right? That's the shadow of deafness. You're listening to the noisy mind and the ego. And the ego's telling you got to do this, you got to do that, and be strategic, and this is how you're going to protect yourself. But it's all not serving you. It's not serving your soul. It's serving the ego. And the bolster the ego up or deflate. Keep your ego deflated, deflate it, which is still the ego, or inflate it, which is still the ego. A deflated ego is not an ego that's diluting. This is the false humility. Those people have the false humility. They're doing all these great acts of charity, but they need the selfie, right? They need the photo op so everybody knows what they're doing. That's false humility, right? So this is about insights, right? So deafness is the gift of breakthrough. It's called a breakthrough. So you're breaking through when you're letting this come through. This is the breakthrough. When you no longer listen to the ego and the noisy mind. You're listening to a deeper, deeper, deeper part of yourself. This is the real you that you're listening to, right? So you turn it on its head. You become deaf to the ego. Stop listening to the ego and start listening to your soul. And then this is going to come through. As soon as this comes through, it's like kryptonite. It's like kryptonite. It's like poison to the worm tongue in the ego, right? Because this is your vast self, your vast infinite self coming through. That's what wants to come through for the Aquarian age, you know? And then for the tarot card is Temperance. That's the major arcana, the 14. This is angel energy, you see. It's an androgynous person, actually, when I read about it, but it's an angel. See? They have angel wings behind them. So this is really saying to come into balance. What I was talking about, you know, humanity has gone so far into separation from source, from God, from the divine. And this is saying to come into balance. This is about healing, right? Healing, becoming whole, coming more and more into your authentic self, right? And this is the true rebel, because this is the archetype of the rebel, right? Is to listen to your own voice, your own truer voice, not to be a tofu person who's completely dependent on their insecurity through narcissists in their life, through others, gaining their identity through the others. Like, stop listening to that voice. Go inside if you're a tofu person. And then the narcissists are not open to any feedback, but to realize that they have narcissistic qualities and they're getting bad advice, right? They're getting totally bad advice from this guy. Yeah. And that's not their true power, right? That's not their true power at all, is the ego. Yeah. Okay, let's see what the gift is. Yeah, it's really relying on the divine more for your guidance. Yeah, balance. It's about balance. That Temperance card. You know, the secret is the heart. I'm just thinking of this balance and temperance. Because we have our upper chakras, right? Our crown and our ajna and our throat. And then we've got the sacral and the root and the solar plexus. That the balance is really here, isn't it? The heart chakra. And that's what makes us human. So we've got one part animal, that's our lower chakras, one part angel, our upper chakras, and then one part human. And this is the balance point, is our hearts. And both the narcissist and the tofu person, they're missing their heart. That's the secret. I think that's what the message we're getting here is, to listen to the heart. Right? What's your heart saying? And the heart's very, very wise, right? The mind can take you all over the place. Worm tongue can take you all over the place, but the heart won't take you all over the place. It's the center. Okay. Okay. And what's the gift for people? Where's the gift? What's the gift? What's that one? Oh, my favorite. This is connected to my soul purpose, actually. Commitment. The commitment card. So this is the commitment to the heart, right? The city of commitment is devotion. That's being a devotee, right? It's not being a devotee to this guy, right? She's a devotee to worm tongue. He's a devotee to worm tongue. You want to be a devotee to the heart. That's what this is saying, to be committed to your heart. Devotion is the city. And it's in the shadow is half-heartedness, right? And half-hearted is when you're listening to that mind, listening to the ego, right? So you want to be committed to the heart. Yeah, for this. I think that's the way in, is the heart. That's what I'm getting, is the heart. That's our magic pill. It's just to be in our hearts and move away from this, and understand through compassion or misunderstand the times. That's one of the sutras for the Aquarian age, right? Is that our heart will lead us where we need to go, and how we treat people if we're in our hearts. When you're in your heart, you're automatically not going to hurt people, because you can feel, right? Like you can feel people and how they feel if you're mean or cruel. Like words hurt people. Even truth, if you speak the truth to someone and you're not connected to your heart, it's a non-truth. It turns into a non-truth because it's just coming from your head, It doesn't get through. You see this with some teachers, because the teachers are saying all the same thing, right? The spiritual teachers are all saying the same thing, just different words, the same thing. But sometimes it's not heard, like people don't understand. But if you meet somebody who's speaking from their hearts, then it gets in, right? It gets in. So just to remember that. Okay, let's see the comments and then we'll log off here. I like that you guys are having a conversation here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It takes time and awareness and knowing yourself and committing. Commitment is about your sadhana. That's your daily spiritual practice. Commit to that. Because some people think it's over, I have my spiritual practice and then it's over. It's just the beginning, right? That's just the beginning of your day. It's just, I can't stress how important a spiritual discipline is every day, because it's the barometer. Like, how am I doing today? How am I doing today? What's going on for me today? So that you're clear, right? That you're clear. And it changes. It's like the weather, right? The spiritual weather. Yeah, the ego is fake news. That's right, Karen. Yeah. Misinformation. Yeah. And look at the narcissists that rule our world, right? We're really being shown this dynamic so that we can heal it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's okay. Where did I go? Oh, there I am. So I'm gonna have a live stream on Saturday around the same time, probably 2:30. That seems to work for me better. And what was I going to say? Because Venus is conjunct the North Node for a week, for basically a week. So that would be a good thing to explore. And that's like good news. We need some good news. And so how to work with that energy. So that's the plan. And then for this, I want to explore more of the ego. Like I'm really feeling called that's a gift of mine to share with what I've learned in my own personal experience with my own ego. And then, because I've had the deflated ego, I've had to deal with the deflated ego in my lifetime. And I think that's the clue, right? This is what's really blocking us and our spiritual development is that ego. And you have to remember that it's foreign. It's a foreign entity. Like Carlos Castaneda talked about, like the foreign installation. That's the ego. That's not really us. And so we have to, and there's some spiritual teachings that are say that, well, you need your ego. You got to make friends with your ego. It's like, no, that's making friends with a snake, like a python. That's more tofu person teachings, right? Well, he'll change, the narcissist. He'll change. I just have to be a better partner, right? I have to support him more and all the excuses, right? We don't want to be making any more excuses for the ego. Yeah, no more excuses. We got to put it in its place, like it's a pet, like a dog, an unruly dog. You got to let it know who's the master. You as a soul have to let the ego know, I'm the master. You're the servant. Like, get on your knees. I'm the master. I'm taking charge here. And this is taking self-responsibility. And then you're not going to get manipulated from the external. That's how they get us, is because everybody's so identified with worm tongue in their ego, right? So all it takes is another master ego, and it's pulling people like a bull with the ring in their nose, just pulling them here and there, wherever they want to take us. When you're not identified with your ego, you cannot be controlled. You're free. That's what we want, is freedom, right? That's what we truly want as a humanity, is freedom. And that's what we are as a soul. We're free. It's the ego telling us that we're not free. So as soon as you let this go, you're not going to be manipulated. You're not going to be controlled. This is why these spiritual conquerors in India were trying to destroy all this knowledge, because you can't control somebody whose Kundalini has risen, who's open, who's awake. You can't control those people because they're free, right? They're free. So that's what I want to focus more of my energy towards too. And plus my Oracle deck will really help with that too, because it's all about the ego. Okay, so everybody have a great day and evening, and I'll see you on Saturday, so around 2:30 this time, okay? And we'll go through the whole sign, so it'll be a long one. But it's going to be good. It's going to be good news for all of us, okay? So Sat Nam Aloha.